Hey everyone, it's Carissa at Sprinkled with Glitter. Welcome back. Today I am playing with some brand new products from Technique Tuesday, including this little guy here. This stamp set's called It's All Good. I'm going to combine it with this heartstrings die set, and then I thought I might use this. This is called the Love Border stamp set. I didn't actually end up using it on this card, but I will be using it in a card next week, so keep your eye out for that. I'm going to stamp this little owl on some Neenah Solar White cardstock. I'm using Memento Tuxedo Black ink because I'm going to be doing some Copic coloring. And you see that I have my Misty out here, and that's because I'm going to do some double stamping of this stamp. I want to make sure that I get a nice intense black outline. So this is one of the best ways to do it. I can stamp it, and I'm going to leave that cardstock in place. I'm going to open my Misty back up, and then I'm going to re-ink that little owl again and then stamp it right over the top again. That's going to give me a double layer of that black ink and give me a nice black outline. Now we're going to speed this up because I'm going to be doing some Copic coloring, and I wanted to leave this in for all of you who are interested, but I didn't want to bore you to death. So I've got it sped up here. I'm using some toner grays to color this little owl. I'm using T1, T3, and T5 on the body, and I've started with the lightest color. I've colored all over his body with that, and then I've gone to the T3 and added some of that around the edges, and then I added the T5. Then I'll go backwards and blend that out. I'll use the T3, blend out the T5, and then go over the whole thing again with the T1. Now, you see, I've colored the beak there with some YR21. I've used the R21, I believe, for the heart on his chest. And I'm going to color his head now, and I am using some lighter toner grays. So I'm going to keep his head a little lighter than the body. So I'm using T1, T2, and T3 and using that same method. Now, I am going to show you how to add some details to your Copic coloring. So I'm just kind of coloring this very simply. You all know me. I am no expert at Copic coloring, but I can kind of do some basics. So that's what I like to stick to. I like to stick to what I know. I am going to add a little bit of feathering around his eyebrows with the darkest marker, this T3, and I'm not going to blend that out. And I'm going to finish him off with a little BG10 in his eyes and a little bit of blush on his cheeks with the R11. So now that I have my image all colored, it's time to add some details, and this is where you're really going to see that image come to life. I have my Uniball Signo Broad Gel Pen here. It's a white gel pen. And I'm going to add a few little dots to his cheeks, and then I'm going to add some dots to his wings as well. And then I'll take that same white gel pen and I'm going to draw like some glare into his eyes. So the little white dots in his eyes. He has all black eyes right now, but I thought it would kind of bring him to life a little bit if I added a little white to his eyes. I'm going to add some more details later on with some Wink of Stella and some glossy accents. But I want to do those at the end because I want to make sure that they dry. Now, adding little details like this to your Copic coloring can really make a difference in the way that it looks. This little guy was super cute the way that he was, but with those polka dots and the extra little accents, it really makes him a lot of fun. So I've gone ahead and fussy cut this little guy out. I've gone around the edge with a black Copic marker, and now I'm putting him in jail so I don't lose him. And I'm going to start some of my die cutting. I'm going to be using this deco foil. This is a double-sided foam adhesive. This is from Thermoweb. I really like to add this foam adhesive to small or intricate die cuts before die cutting that I know I want to add dimension to, and I knew I wanted to add dimension to these heartstrings die cuts. So I'm going to go ahead and add this pale rose cardstock on top of that double-sided foam adhesive. I'm just removing one of the backers and applying that cardstock. And then I'll kind of trim off the excess and keep that because those scraps are really useful. And then I'm going to run this through my die cut machine. Now I am using my precision base plate because it does need a little extra oomph to get through not only the cardstock, but also the foam and then the backer sheet of that foam adhesive. So I've just gone ahead and run that through. I get a nice clean cut. And then I'm going to use this stitched border die. This is from Pretty Pink Posh to add kind of a curved and stitched border to my card front. And then I'm going to use one of the sentiments from the stamp set. This says, "I'll always love you." I'm inking it up in some VersaFine Onyx Black ink, and then I'm going to stamp it onto my card front. Now I went ahead and used my Misty to stamp this sentiment because For whatever reason, I've been messing up a whole lot of cards lately, so I figured if I didn't get this just right on the first try, I had another try to get it just right. So I went ahead and I had the Misty out, so I went ahead and used it, and I'll probably be using it more in the future. I'm really excited about getting my mini Misty. March 1st cannot come soon enough. So now I'm going to kind of arrange my elements on the front of the card. I didn't want one of these hearts kind of coming out of the bottom of this owl. I thought it would look a little awkward. So I'm going to trim one of these hearts off where that owl will be sitting. He's going to kind of be sitting kind of like a bird on a wire type thing is kind of my vision here. So I just kind of arrange those. I got that heart trimmed off, and now I am going to add a little bit of tumbled glass distress ink. I'm just going to blend it, kind of creating a sky feel behind where my owl will be sitting. It will just draw a little more attention to where he's at. Now, I felt like I got a little carried away with the blue ink. It was a little darker than I wanted it. So I'm going to try to remedy that. I'm just using a little Perfect Pearl and some water. I misted it over the entire card front, and now I'm just kind of blotting it up, kind of trying to get a little bit of that color up. I don't know that it even made a difference, quite honestly, but in my head, it felt better. So now it's time to start adding the elements to the card front. I have this gold piece here. I cut this out of a piece of that metallic gold cardstock. This did not have any foam adhesive on the back. So I just used my little Xyron sticker maker. Y'all remember those, right? We all bought them at one point and none of us use them anymore. But but it's great for little intricate die cuts like this. So I went ahead and used my Xyron sticker machine maker, whatever it's called, to add that little gold one to my card front. And now I'm just removing the backer from these little foam backed pieces that I've created. Now that bigger heartstrings die actually cuts a little heart out of the center of those. So those hearts are hollow, but I've set those aside because those are going to be great little accents to add to the front of my card. I'm just going to add the rest of these on here. So I'm going to have 3 little wires kind of crossing over each other. You see that bigger heartstrings, those little kind of hollow hearts. Those are kind of cool. And once I get those all added, I am going to trim off the excess, and then I have those all ready. Now, I decided to add my owl onto this card front using a action wobble spring. Every now and then, I love to use these little things just to add a little something different. It adds dimension and a little movement to the front of the card, but on little things like this, I kind of wish they made mini action wobbles because these big ones I have to trim down. It works okay, but I would like to not have to trim them down. So I trimmed it down, removed the backer, and put him onto the card front, and you can see how he kind of moves around there. It's just a fun little element to add to the front of your card. And then I'm going to add just a little bit of this pattern paper. This is from a My Favorite Things chevron 6x6 paper pad. I'm going to add a little strip of that along the edge of the card front. I'm just bringing in that gray again that's on that owl. And then I'm going to add this card front to a card base, but I'm going to add a layer of thun foam between the card front and the card base. And for the life of me, I do not know what color this cardstock is, so I'm sorry about that. It's just a light blue cardstock, so something that kind of coordinates with that tumbled glass. That's kind of what I used. So now I'm just arranging these little hearts. These are from that kind of negative space of that larger die cut on those heartstrings. I'm arranging those on the front of the card. I was going to not add sequins, but I could not help it. I needed to add those little sequins, so I added those on with some multi-matte medium. And here I'm going to add a little bit more detail to my owl. I'm using a clear Wink of Stella glitter brush marker on that heart that's on his chest. I'm also using it on a couple of those pink hearts that I scattered around. And then I'm going to add some glossy accents. Now, this is where his little heart on his chest and his eyes really come alive because that layer of glossy accents adds dimension and shine, and it is just a really fun way to add a little bit more detail to your Copic coloring. I also added the glossy accents to a couple of those pink hearts that are on the card front, and that completes my card for today. So some really fun, easy ways to add some details to your Copic coloring. I hope you enjoyed this project. As always, I will have links to all the featured products in the description at YouTube, and I will have links to all the products used in this project at my blog at sprinkledwithglitter.com. Thanks for stopping by today. Thanks for watching. And until next time, I hope you have a fabulous day.